Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Doom Mountain, and today's video we are going to be discussing or going over how I've managed to survive one full year in Minecraft Hardcore. Now this is just sort of a little bit of a summary version of every episode of, you know, the year of how I actually got up to this point. We also include a few live streams and a few extra builds that we've done over there and off camera and everything to really sort of just show how I've managed to actually, you know, occupy my time in this world and, you know, just try and not die. Now, I'm not going to lie, there is no great big secret to how I've survived this whole hardcore world. No, a lot of it was just sheer cowardliness, some might say. I've spent a lot of my nights sleeping. I'm still to fight the dragon because, you know, we've got this grand village build that we are about to finish. The next episode in the hardcore series will finish off that library, so yeah, then we'll be able to go off and fight the dragon, get a bit more danger into our world. But guys, I hope you enjoy sitting back and just watching my tale that I've undertaken over this past year. And yeah, feel free to, you know, do that whole like, subscribe if you guys feel like it, because you know, this has taken a bit of time to do. But yeah guys, I really hope you enjoy, you know, looking through this. If you guys are someone that's, you know, been around for a while, this might be a real good trip down memory lane, seeing how everything's progressed. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy, and without further ado, let's jump in to the video. Alright, episode 1, and we started off the world spawning in on top of an oak tree. Luckily for us, not too dangers around, and it was still daytime. So we're able to enjoy a bit of the freedom, knowing that this is going to be our first solo world, and sort of enjoy the dangers of hardcore a little bit. Luckily though, we did spawn in pretty close to a ruined nether portal, which managed for us to be able to pick up 2 golden apples. So I'll take them, thank you very much. I did, however, though, forget to actually make ourselves a bed to sleep through that first night, so we did have to just sort of eat pork chops and, well, fight the occasional zombie that would come by every now and then. The next day, though, I was much more prepared after fighting some mobs, and we managed to pick up a brand new dog, man's best friend, Joe. And I was so happy to be able to get him on the 2 bones. And yeah, the second night, though, I did remember to make a bed, so that was pretty good. And then we set off and down the hill and found ourselves a village, which we all now know has become the village of Uruk. However, though, it looked quite different back then, and yeah, as you can see here, I'm just sort of exploring it and sort of getting a bit of a feel for the landscape, trying to work out, do I want to live here in the village or do I want to find another spot? But, you know, in this whole looking around indecisiveness, it got a bit dark, and yeah, unfortunately we got some zombies coming up and we lost a few of our villagers. Not all of them though, which is a good thing. And as you can see there, Joe came in hardcore clutch to save my life then, so good boy, Joe, good boy. Alright, so after almost killing off the villagers by letting it get too dark, I crossed over the hill and found the perfect spot to set up. I know there is a pillager tower over there in the distance, but it wasn't deterring me. I love this spot. As you can see, it's a perfect little flat area here. I just had to build up on it. It's also got a little intriguing little cave above it. Words, I know I stumbled that a little bit, but let's go up and have a little look in there. Now, as you can see, it looks like we might need our good trusty companion Joe to help us out a little bit, which he does on multiple occasions. And I mean, he really helped me out through exploring this little bit of a hole in the side of the hill here. Joe also really enjoyed taking out spiders, I came to find. It was pretty funny watching him just flick them up in the air. It was cute. However though, once we were able to clear it all out, we did find that right here, just above our house, was a zombie spawner. Like, how perfect is that? And we were able to get a saddle, a bucket, a name tag, as well as, if we flick over to the other chest, we've got a Feather Falling 1 book. Now, in hardcore, I like building, so falling is one of my big fears. Yeah, look how close we are to where I want to set up. This had sold it to me. This was the perfect spot, and all we had to do now was just start building our house, lay our claims to the land. So I think that's what I will do next. And it's exactly what I had done, I built up this whole little house here. Obviously in the episode it went through a bit more of the steps of how I built it up, but just for this recap of how I've survived this whole, this first year in this world, I just wanted to do a little bit of a cuts through. So as you can see, now we're at the completely finished starter house, which I haven't changed much at all, throughout the time here. It's truly a lovely starter home, which I was so happy to be around. I also fell in love with the way that the leaves look on the acacia trees in this area, so it's sort of, on that day, it subconsciously came a bit of a, this has to be in the builds. We also go through and do a little bit of a look through of the house once I try and work out how to get through a door. But, just usual sort of standard storage spaces. We have a bit of furnace array set up, as well as, some armor stands doing some funny little poses. And yeah, it's just a real comfy house, and I'm so happy with it being here. Yeah, I was really happy with how it turned up. Alright, and episode 2, sort of starting out over at our sort of basic tree farm which I'd set up, as well as sort of showing off a bit of our, ever-growing bee population, which sort of started accumulating before we made our way back over to the village just to acquire ourselves a few crops. Don't worry, I didn't take too many. So after we took our fair share of crops, we headed back over to our home, where, in the area we decided to set up for our farm, I was meted by a creeper and, really had my bow skills put to the test. Eventually I took it out. But after that sort of dilemma of the creeper, I sort of decided that this area here would be perfect where I wanted to lay out my farmland. I could have different 3-tiered levels, so we could have our carrots, our potatoes, as well as our wheat, showing there behind the sort of rough layout of these 3 different layers. But as you can see here, there is a bit of terraforming which is needed to be done. No area is perfect in Minecraft, so you do have to crop out the little spaces. And so I go along and sort of fix up the areas just as need be, and this sort of becomes just a running theme of, if I want the area to work for how I want it, I'm just going to cover up a hole. I really hope I don't fall down one of these days. But spending too much time in the garden did sort of lead me wanting to actually go out and acquire a few more pets, have a bit more friends and life around my area. And cats is what I decided on, because, if you let them roam while you go to sleep, they bring you back gifts in the morning, and I was really hoping to get some phantom membranes so we could get some potions of slow falling. However, though, Joe did keep scaring our cats, and this one even grew up in the mission of trying to actually get it. So look, I turned my back and it grows up. We did manage to, acquire this cat. Like so. Others weren't as hard to acquire, but, after not too long, we managed to have a group of 5 cats, and Joe there in the family, which was looking really good. Now, I wanted to head up the mountain to try and get some iron, to have a full iron gear, so I thought I'd head up there, but I'd leave the pets with a little campfire set up before I went off and fully got myself decked out in iron gear. Now, I tell you what, it definitely made me feel so much safer, throwing away that leather gear and just throwing on the iron. I was feeling a bit more protected now. I felt like, I could take a bit of a hit. Those skeletons and that, they weren't going to mess me up too much anymore. So it was a really good feeling. Once this was done though, I headed back, to the village, not forgetting to collect our pets though. Had to make sure I got them. Spent too much time trying to collect those cats. But as we made our way back to the village, I showed a little cutscene of how we finished up our garden. We've got the 3-tiered levels there. We managed to wrap everything off in a border of all those different leaves between the acacia and the oak, and set up a pumpkin and melon farm on the side there. And yeah, it looks really, really cool. It does look a little bit plain at the moment, but this is episode 2, and it's a really cool little starting farm, which I use to this day. And as you can see, we do a little bit of a walk around in it. But it was really good. It looks beautiful in this little spot here, and I'm really happy with it. So let's head on over to episode 3. Unfortunately, episode 3 had started off on a bad note, as we had experienced one of the many lovely bedrock features we experienced called bugs, and we had lost all of our entities. That meant that all of our pets that we had collected in the last episode, our 5 cats and Joe, all of our paintings that decorated our house, and our armor stand was all gone. It had just all been despawned because of the way that bedrock works. Anyway, though, I didn't want to be too let down by it, so to pick myself up, I decided that I'd go out and I'd fix up the land a little bit, because it was looking quite plain there next to our farm area, and I decided that we might need a bit of a farmhouse to actually store it. So let's look at that little bit of a transformation. As you can see, as we arrive up, we have a really nice cozy little bit of a farmhouse cottage area sort of thing, with a bit of a campfire at the front. We have paintings in here which hopefully won't despawn. Made use of a bed as like a little bit of a bench sort of thing, but unfortunately that quite doesn't stay the case, because we get a resident that comes and lives with us. But yeah, anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves. We've got a nice little bit of storage here and decorations to be able to store all the farm animal goods. So we've got cows in here, we also have sheep in here, and as you can see, there is a painting of a pig, because we just don't actually carry any pigs in here. Maybe that's something we should fix in the future. But as you can see behind me, we've got plenty of chest storage for all of our crops which we've been growing in our farms, and this serves beautifully as a nice little just eager place to sort of store your farming goods. However, though, after that and our loss, I was ready to face the world, and I thought it was time that we head off and actually found some diamonds. And so that's what I did. Now it wasn't all smooth sailing. We did encounter our fair share of danger, and walk in on just a family of skeletons which wanted to turn me into a porcupine. Luckily they didn't prevail, and we managed to find ourselves our first 3 emeralds, which were guarded by an enderman. This guy scared me for about 5 minutes before I actually had the courage just to go, let's head up there and mine up these diamonds. Again, early game, so no fortune on this, but hopefully, as you can see here, we get number 3, and that's our diamond pickaxe, which we very much so will be needing. So after we found ourselves our first 3 diamonds of the world, it was off to go off and, have a bit of a fight with the locals in the caves. This child scared me because they're just so quick. But did the usual caving thing, looked around for a few more ores, didn't find too much luck with the diamond front until I decided to move locations and jump down this hole. Sorry, I had to wait for the dramatic pause. But it paid off for us, and we found ourselves a mine shaft, which, luckily I didn't fall down the lava. We dug up and found ourselves more diamonds, which, it's exactly what I was looking for. So after sort of clearing the area, I was really now on edge, because I knew that cave spiders were a thing, and I didn't want to deal with the poison, because their poison was gonna kill me. So I just decided straight up, I found one, I don't need it in my world, I'm just going to destroy it. I don't need the cave spider spawner, I'm just going to destroy it. And here we go. It still feels good. We did though get karma, because the next diamonds that we found was guarded by a cave spider, but paid off, ran away a little bit, found ourselves our 3rd golden apple. I'll take you, thank you very much. We did return though and collect up our diamonds, and then just went on a bit of a spree. Like, there were so many in this mine shaft. It really paid off for me. So gravel traps are always fun to discover. But this cave really did pay off, and I quite enjoyed going through it. But after all of our sort of exploration down there in the caves, we did manage to come back with enough diamonds to make our diamond pickaxe, an enchanting table, and a diamond chest plate. I was already sold on those. Were the top priorities for me to get for this episode. And then we had enough spare to be able to also do our boots. Now, even if the enchanting tale didn't work out for us. Remember, episode 1, we found that Feather Falling 1 book, so the boots was a must-have because they had a bit of extra fall protection wanting to be a builder. So, in order to get ourselves set up, it was head straight back to spawn, line up a bit of obsidian, head on back to home, kill up a few cows, and then bam, we were done. However though, we could not end off the episode without trying our luck with enchanting, and what is that? Boom, straight up Feather Falling 4. Guys, that was perfect. And then we got Protection 3, Unbreaking 3 on our chest plate. Like, that was awesome. And then we had enough levels to actually go ahead and get Fortune 3 on that diamond pickaxe with Efficiency 4. So I ended episode 3 very, very happy. You know, it started off bad, we lost all of our pets, but we ended it on a high. So yeah, let's see how episode 4 continued that role. Well, I don't know what it was. It might have been the luck from the ending of last episode, or just the sheer pain of losing all of my friends. I decided for episode 4 to actually venture off into the Nether today. And to do that, I needed a nice bow, and this is where our beautiful friendship and partnership with Mark came from. Now, he is our Fletcher who, mate, this guy was just in clutch. He was my first, villager friend from this world, and we really clicked it off. I cut down many a trees for him to sell him sticks, and, we eventually even bought our first, and to this day still using, bow from Mark the Cleric. But as you can see, once we unlocked the bow there, it was head back to the village and enchant ourselves a lovely golden helmet before working out the perfect spot to build up our nether portal. And unfortunately, our nether was never really good to start off with. It was very laggy because there was so much lava trying to fall down, so there was constant sort of glitch backs. We'd be firing at ghasts, and even though my shot is terrible, it's not that bad. But, we made do. So, we walked around, we tried to trade with the piglins, we got attacked constantly before just deciding to, just chill out, mine up a bit of quartz. Found ourselves some ancient debris, and then built a bit of a bridge. Don't worry, my safety railing is coming in now. I wasn't going to just bridge out over lava without having that fire potion. That's what I was trying to trade with the piglins before. But, we walked around, had a bit of a conversation with the locals, trying to find, a fortress, more ancient debris, just something to really, get our hands on. Picked a fight with Hoglin. Absolutely love that they hate these mushrooms, that they've just got to get away from it. But, yeah, so that was it. We ventured around for a little bit, but eventually, we just had to cut our losses because there was nothing else around. We found our one piece of ancient debris, hung it up on the wall, and ended our episode. Episode 5 was all about making use of that zombie spawner we found in episode 1, and seems that we'd gone over to the nether last time. We had soul sand, and we also had magma blocks to be able to make a really easy sort of, killing chamber for them, so it could just be AFKable. So yeah, that's what I did. I cleared out our space, marked out where I want everything to go. I sort of found the areas where, this is how, if it falls down from here, we've got to get it shot up a tube to go up through here, get them to land here, and then this is where the, the killing mechanism and all the collection will be. So yeah, let me just show you all of that. Alright, so episode 5, and just still another bug. I had to go off and get some kelp for our, tubing to send them up, and, in my boat sailing across the ocean, I got out of my boat and it despawned. Well, it didn't despawn, it rubber banded all the way back, so I had to make a new boat, and I just really prayed that it wasn't going to, get shot back into the unknown, and that would be it. Get back to the farm, all you can see, all finished up, but where's that glow from in the spawner cage? Yeah, another bug that absolutely wiped out the zombie spawner. Now, this was annoying, but I had heard, that there was a bug doing this, and it was a visual glitch rather than actually despawning the zombie spawner. So I just decided, you know what, instead of giving up on it all, I was just going to make a kind of standard dark room spawner, and I was just going to see how that ran for a bit. And to my surprise, you know, it still kept spawning zombies. So I just sort of saw it as a win. I closed it up, collected up all the rotten flesh that I had gathered, and I went looking for Chris, our second villager, who sort of had a name, who's been, you know, he became, well, we were a bit standoffish at first. As you can see, he was very reluctant to show me where he lived or to do any form of business with me. But eventually we saw ways, and I was able to trade him a lovely amount of zombie rotten flesh stuff, and yeah, he was much appreciative. And that's how we left off episode 5 with our new friend Chris. Alright, so thankfully episode 16 we logged in and our spawner was back in action. So it was just a matter of just ripping out all of these false floorings that I'd put in, and yeah, we were back into place. Now, what I wanted to do was start building up some farms in the land just above us here where the spawner is, on top of that hill. And, you know, it was a really nice sort of spot, just a bit of clearing, and I sort of thought that, you know what, I wouldn't mind putting in an automatic pumpkin and melon farm, some sugarcane farms, even a bamboo farm and that sort of thing. So that's just exactly what I did. I brought us over into a creative test world where I sort of demonstrated the designs that I wanted to build and put into place, and yeah, I think they look really cool. So we jumped back onto the world to see that I built up the melon and pumpkin farms, only small little segments because, well, it's just a solo world, we don't need too much, and this is an area that's pretty well much loaded quite often, so I thought this would be more than enough for us. However though, I did want to set off on another adventure and find our last few diamonds to be able to be fully decked out, and as well as have all of our gear. So we headed off not too far, sort of, I want to say north from where our starter house is, and we came across another village which was just sort of floating above this hole. I didn't explore it, but you know, I kept going through into the next area, which was a jungle, and once we got there I found a parrot and I just had to have this pet. Now, it was a very seed hungry parrot, however though, we managed to finally tame our parrot and we named him Polly. Yes, very generic. After we had tamed Polly, we looked over to the distance and found ourselves another village. However though, these guys were a bit of a dick to us. They really didn't care one way or another what Polly and I were doing, so we decided to continue on and, you know, go for a bit of a caving exploration. Now, I didn't know how this was going to work out, you know, Polly being a bird, but I thought, you know, we could make this work. We could make this work. And we did, you know, we came to an agreement. Polly was more than happy to sort of make any mob sound that was in the area, and I used this to my advantage. We did play a few games together. Was that a trap or was that not? But you know, it was for the most time it was pretty good. You know, we went and found a whole heap of ores, got a whole heap of different, you know, goodies that we were in need of. Polly helped out and let me know if there was any mobs that were, you know, close by or, you know, praying to sort of attack. But, you know, other than that, it went really, really well. But not after too long, we managed to find ourselves some diamonds, as well as just a whole heap of goodies, some gold, and, you know, iron. It was just really, really helpful to be able to just collect up all of these materials, knowing full well that Polly was by my side and ready to help out. This confidence that Polly brought me allowed me to explore throughout, you know, abandoned mine shafts high above the sort of cavern down there, and, you know, it was just great. I had this true companion. Polly was everything. He gave me the confidence. It was perfect. You see, he warned me about the creepers. You know, it didn't help my shot, but, you know, he warned me about them. You see, like, there he is, just the good boy that he was. And then this happened. Unfortunately, he suffocated in the wall there as he tried to come out. We were heading home. We'd finished. He'd made it all the way. So I just collected up his feathers to honour him. I'll miss you, Polly. Because don't give me that head look. Look, I know it's the most generic bird name, but it's your name. Come on, Polly. How you going, Polly? You keeping up? Sorry, I had to see if it was a trap. After the loss of Polly, it really hit me, so I just walked home, set up an area where I could display, the rare block, I guess. I got the deep slate coal, but more importantly, to honour Polly and hang one of his feathers up in my house. That's not all I did though. I did build and dedicate a flower garden and a stairwell leading up to where our zombie spawner is, all to Polly. This was my way of coping with the loss. But unfortunately we did collect quite a few amount of diamond blocks with Polly using Silk Touch. So we went off, got ourselves a Fortune 3 iron pickaxe to be able to see how many we could get, to see if Polly's sacrifice was able to gear us up. And with 31 diamonds, it did. I ended the episode fully decked out, but quite sad that I just lost my best friend. For episode 7, I started off doing a little bit of a showboating of the new enchants that I'd been working on for my tools. It took quite a bit of time, off camera to actually get some of this stuff, but it definitely made me feel a lot safer, and to this day, most of it is still the exact same gear, the exact same enchantments. I haven't really updated that, probably should, but I like what I've got, and it's helped me out quite a bit at the moment. Now, there was also a fair bit of off-camera work done between episodes 6 and 7, because we built up a house for our pumpkin and melon farm. We built up an enchanted tree, or we started the base of it, as well as building up our road leading up to a beautiful start of a sugarcane and bamboo farm. We've also got a lot of space behind us to actually, grow our trees, and that sort of has been where I'm just cutting up all of the wood before we go in and just sort of have a little look at the interior of, the house that I built up for the pumpkin and melon farm. Alright, jumping back into the village now, we were really stoked to be able to have 2 name tags, and we could actually finally, officially name both Mark and Chris before, trading a lot of rotten flesh with Chris, and then heading off and finding out which villager would be the one to give us our golden carrots. None really obliged too well at them at the start. Although it didn't take too long before I worked out the perfect way to subdue the villagers into working how I would like it. Put them in a pen, and I also made note that we made friends with a horse, who later on becomes Dot, as well as his best friend there, Mrs. Cow. Now it's time that I want those golden carrots, and I think if I spend enough time trading with a few of the villagers here, we're going to get it. Would have been great if that's where I wanted to stop at those golden carrots, but no, I had fancy new gear and I wanted myself mending. So let's give you the short form of, how many villages I had to go through before I could finally get mending. But it was sweet to have, and here he is, 18 emeralds, mending. Could not be happier with that. In fact, I think I was that happy that it was just, I didn't want to do anything else for the episode. I had mending, I was set, and villagers wipe you out. So let's head over to episode 8. For episode 8, we started off in our mining area where we've been collecting up all of our stone, granite, andesite, you name it, we find it. And we were lucky enough to actually find down here ourselves a skeleton spawner. Now, I hadn't had any chance to actually build up the farm around it, however, though, we definitely do, because it becomes a very important part in our, building. We need a lot of kelp coming up, just give you the heads up there. But we also showed that we, off camera, found ourselves a wandering trader who graciously offered to give us moss. Well, I completely blanked on what it was called, but yes, we got moss. Before we head off back to the village, and I decide to explain that it just doesn't look right, we need to tear it down, and I think it'd be a great time for a time lapse, so yeah, let's jump into it. Yes, and so playing on Bedrock means that we don't have fancy sort of spectator mode that we can do really cool time lapses with. No, I actually need a secondary camera account. So I contacted my usual suspect, asked him if he wanted to come onto a hardcore world, stand around in the dark and just watch me and film everything. He, for some reason, didn't seem to want to oblige. I miss that guy. However, though, jumping on back into the world, I wasn't defeated that my cameraman let me down. No, I just got back into it and I cleared off all of the area around us, which really set the pace and made everything look a lot clearer and more manageable to work on. Now, after this was all sort of set out, I decided, behind me here is where leads back to the homestead, our sort of starter house and everything. So I wanted to build the roads and the pathway leading from this point here. This cow, yeah, he was giving me the eye, I saw that too. But anyway, we decided to start laying out our paths and, working out where we want buildings to sort of sit around this village because, at this time I didn't know what I wanted it to be. I just wanted it to be a nice village. I wanted a project, something to keep me occupied in this world so I wasn't going to die. And I thought, yeah, just marking us all out here, going through the different areas because, I wanted to use up this whole sort of space of the village. And I think, the plan really sort of worked. So I always love doing that as like an episode sort of thing in a world is you work out where you want to do. Yep, oh, exposing myself. Yep, there's a massive big hole under our area. How do you cover it? No, you don't 2 block it, 3 block it. No, you just 1 block, walk across and forget. That's it. But no, I usually love spending an episode like this where I just go around and actually plan out what I want to do in the area, It lets me get an idea of the space, it lets me get an idea of what I can do, and I think it's just a really fun thing to work on. Now, after all of this building though, I did sort of feel the itch to start putting in a bit of a farm, I like the farmlands as you saw with the tiered one back at the homestead. I just really like how they look. We also do a fun little cutaway where all the houses, everything's all gone, I'm up a little bit higher, and then, can I time it? Yes. We get ourselves our lovely tiered garden, farmland, and we even kept in that tree there and just added in a bit of a beehive, and that sort of really include it and keep it as part of, the build. Now, yes, you're probably thinking, is part of that farmland above that floating hole? Yes. And on that note, we end episode 8 and start episode 9, showing off that we did in fact cover up our hole. No, we didn't safe it, as you can see there. No, it's not quite the perfect thing, but we did cover it so we can work on the top of it. We also led up to a nice little area which I wanted to set up and make a nice ponded area with a tree and just, have it as a nice relaxing spot that has a nice view of the ice-tipped mountains in the background. And I think it's just a lovely area. Now, we've jumped over into a creative test world because I wanted to give off the ideas and the feelings that I had been for, building up this area and how I was thinking it was going to start looking. As you can see here, we have 2 model houses, one of being like the stable area and one being more of a house situation. Now, I really do like how this stable looked, and it almost block for block came over perfectly into the world, and I was really happy with that. Much the same with the villager houses. I haven't quite done as much decorating as is shown in here, and I haven't included the copper rods on the roof, which I've kind of forgot about until doing this edit video, so it might be a good idea to bring that back. Now, I can't forget to mention that the bees. I want to start using copper, so I needed beeswax. So I designed this little nice simple bee farm that was ideally aimed to be built around my area, so my starter base, so I'd be there loaded more often than actually in the village. And it's just a simple little contraption which pops up lovely in our house, so, well, not in our house, in our area. It looks really good. Now we jump straight on back into the world where, as you can see behind me, we have 2 bee farms set up, one really close and one up a bit higher on the hill, just to sort of segment them and have them a bit more showing off. Now, as you can see, we don't have any of the nice honeycomb block or gold blocks around them like we did in the Creative Test World, because which we're trying to get it at the moment. But it's a slow process and it works out alright. Now, here behind me is the first of many mistakes. This was the commitment to doing kelp blocks. As you saw in the Creative Test World for the house designs, it's when I thought they looked really good. I still do, but it is so much work and effort to get them that look at this poor fool thinking that, oh yeah, I'll just even make flooring out of it, it'll be great. Poor man. But here's where I decide that my bamboo and sugarcane farms really needed a house over them, and because we are just doing a bit of how I've survived this 1 year, I'm cutting through a bit of it quickly. But as you can see, we built up a really nice area, keeping the motto of I don't want dead space. So as you can see, we come up the road here. This is a house that's around our sugarcane farm, and we have just a nice little campfire there, a bit of sugarcane around, some trees, everything there to sort of fill in the space and make it look more lived in. This looks really good, I think, just for they're just the farms, and I don't really use the houses except to store wood when I cut it down from trees. So I think that just building up something that looks so appealing on the eye, it was really nice and just sort of comfortable to see. As you can see, we look down at our house there, and we've got the nice bamboo farm all set up there, very similar, slightly different roofing, just sort of set them apart so it wasn't like we just built copy and pasted one building. As you can see, this one has a bit more of a little stick out shutter of the roof, which I do believe I get a bit better at before we end the episode, thinking that I have cracked the code and put a smoker there and it's going to solve everything. Jeez. Poor fool. Alright, here at episode 10, and we are now at the halfway mark. I think I did a really cool little cutaway here. I went, hey guys, do you remember those little things that we did in the last episode from the Creative Test World? And then just shot up some photos, and then it was a really cool little segment to sweep straight into actual finished builds in the area. Now, it's a technique that I haven't done often, or I don't think I've done since, but I actually, watching this back, think I might do it again. It's a cool little, just a reminder little thing. And as you can see here, you might be able to see in my one good eye, this is where the pain starts coming in, because I realise I cannot finish these roofs. I barely finished the stables roof, and kelp's going to be the end of me. I do go down though and show a bit more, in depth of how these builds sort of look. It's this one here though in particular almost is a spitting image from the Creative Test World, right up to the hollow upper area of the build which has nothing in it. I go around and show a bit more of, the other house and that sort of stuff before we really have to sort of go, okay, it's getting dark, we've got to commit now, let's move Mrs. Gow up into her new pen. To which she spends a total of 1 episode before she climbs over a hay bale I put in there and escapes into the next pen. But she was happy for a little bit. Now we just jump straight into it and I start building up the roads. I've got coarse dirt that I want to put in there. We've got a bit of brown wool, pathing blocks and that sort of stuff. So we just go through now and just really lay out where we want our road to be, how we want the path to be. And as you can see, this is how we get it to a base point. Before we go through and start adding in more like fence posts, a bit more decoration sort of stuff, I even decided, hey, let's chuck in a wagon here. But, we can't put in a wagon if we don't have, a donkey pulling it. And I went, hey, I had a donkey, why don't I get a mule? And then this poor guy doesn't know it yet, but I forget about him every single episode, and he's probably one of the more closer to me animals because he's always down there by the mats. However though, the donkey here that's going to be for a while, I give him a carrot to make him feel a bit better about himself and start building up a tree so he has some shade. I like the idea of it, so I start going around, and this is where we really start putting in more greenery. I add in more trees of different sizes, and then start getting, having a bit of fun with the bone meal before really pulling it all together to wrap up with just the nice finishing touches. We add in a pond, we got a bit of a workstation, and yeah, I just think it all came up really nicely in the end there. And we set off for episode 11, showing the skeleton spawner that I actually turned into a proper working farm, making use of a trident killer to be able to kill off those skeletons and just having a bit of storage flow underneath it. I also set up a bit of a little makeshift slime farm to actually sort of benefit from all those slimes spawning around while I was actually AFK, at the skeleton spawner, before we head on back up to the village and I sort of give a bit more demonstration of the newer and improved tree farm that I've set up along there, as well as a bit of a smoker setup. Now the smoker is used to sort of try and build up all the kelp blocks that we are going to inevitably need, and it is all sort of powered by a by Lava Farms, which we've got down here below with our chicken cookers, and it's really sort of been help fueling all of this setup. So after showing off all of the builds that we'd done off camera, we headed back to the village where I was able to show off our brand new kelp block roofs, which, they do look pretty good, but it's just a pain to get. On our way back in though, we did notice that we had a bit of a mischief, someone trying to break out of the pen, and this was the first time I'd actually seen it. I did later on come to realise that I'd placed the one of the crafting tables in there a little bit too close to the wall, but yeah, this guy made me work for it to get him back in there. It was a bit annoying, but yeah, it paid out. Afterwards though, I went on a little bit of a just sort of a showing area. Like, this is where I've marked up an area where I want Mark's archering course to be. Remember Mark, our fletching villager, who became one of my good friends, and he's a very certified sort of archer who we want to be able to build up some form of course for him up at the top of the mountain just here, before also going down and showing a lovely area on the gardens where I want to be able to put a bit of a ponded area. So the reason why I showed off these spaces here is because I wanted to go through our new Nether portal which I'd set up in the village. Now while I was away, the theory was that enough time had passed that the villagers would have actually built up that area for us so that when we came back, we'd be able to have it all nice and finished and do a little show off at the end there. So now it was just jump through the portal and hope that it would make a new portal in the Nether and not actually connect to our old one. And unfortunately it connected to our old one, which wasn't too much of a problem. It just kind of meant that we had to start off our exploration pretty close to when we were originally. But we did the same thing. We spoke to some locals, got the dish on where things were, found ourselves 2 bits of ancient debris before finally stumbling into a Nether fortress. However though, when we did enter into the fortress, we were pretty well greeted by, a blaze spawner, which, did keep us on our toes a little bit, but we weren't too scared off yet. No, our mission was to go and find some nether wart, which we actually did find not too far after that. There was a little bit of a jump scare, which may or may not have brought me down a few hearts, but in the long run I think I managed to pull through alright, and then I kept going. I kept going to collect on my first wither skeleton skull, and then that was quickly followed up by my second. The third, however though, saw itself as a little bit of a problem as it was picked up by a piglin friend, so had to quickly take care of him to acquire that, to turn around the corner and hello, here's number 4. Number 5 took a little bit, but it was there, and after this point we decided to cut our losses and head on back home, where we would just have a quick look over our goodies. Now, we couldn't end the episode without correctly linking up our portal from the village into the Nether, so I quickly dug up a little bit of a tunnel, worked out where it should be, placed it in, put it into place, lit the portal, and thankfully it met up to where we wanted to be. Now, as I've gone through and went off to give a nice little show off of our new area, it unfortunately began to rain. Now, this didn't stop me because I wanted to get the video out, so I still sort of showed through with it all being in the unfortunate rain state. But you know, I really do like how it looks. It's a really nice peaceful area. You know, we've got a nice little picnic table down there, and it does look really cool with the pond. We also decorated up a bit of Mark's sort of entrance walkway through the caving in the mountain there, and yeah, it was a really good spot just to leave up the episode. Alright, and with episode 12 we started off with no rain, so we're able to give a bit more of a show of the areas that we didn't get to last time. So we get a nice look at our little pond here with the little picnic table bench set up, our custom tree, and as I explained here in this clip, you know, we were only a few hours before 1.19 dropped and we could actually start putting frogs in that pond, which was the whole idea of it. Now, we also go up and start to show off Mark's sort of archery course area, and we get a little bit of a look of how I sort of turned that little plain land up at the top there from last episode into this nice sort of course where you can come out and really test your skills. After all this was finished though, you know, I did head on down and, you know, decide to build up the farmhouse next to where our crops had been growing because, you know, I had a bit of time to kill and I thought, why not get it done now? As you can see, because we're skipping through a little bit, you know, it pops up really nice and I do really appreciate how it looks. But at last, the time had come to collect up Dot and go off and find ourselves a mangrove swamp. So as you can see here, we rode all the way to find these frogs with Dot. No water or lake stopped us. We just put him in a boat, joined in, and went for a ride. Like, I think this is so cool and cute. I like doing this. We also came across an ocean temple. And, you know, I completely forgot about this one again, so I've noted down the coordinates for this. But finally, after 4,000 blocks of travelling, we made it to our destination of the mangrove swamp, which, you know, was great to collect up these new bits of wood and everything. I haven't used them in a build yet, but I do intend to soon. I think they look really cool with that different red pop. And then we finally managed to find ourselves some frogs who were quite slow, as you could see. However, though, the painful part about this was I didn't quite understand the concept of, getting the... I thought I could just collect the eggs. No, I didn't realise that you had to wait for them to hatch the tadpoles, and yeah, watch my pain for a little bit. Like, I can't believe I even thought shearing them would work. Eventually though, they hatched, we worked out the drill, we knew what we had to do, collect ourselves a bucket of tadpoles, and yeah, we were on our way back home to introduce them into our pond. Once we got them back home though and put them into the pond, we, you know, had gathered up a nice collection of slime as our previous little makeshift slime farm. And so it was just sort of grow them up to adults and then just sort of breed them up so we could get a bit more collection of these frogs going around. I put around some lily pads in there and it was so cool to see them sitting on them and just sort of really enjoying the pond life. But yeah guys, that was it, our very froggy episode of episode 12. For episode 13, we started off showing off our brand new shiny pickaxe that we managed to collect up the ancient debris on a live stream. Now, we didn't just get enough for our pickaxe, we got enough to do all of our gear, so we go ahead and put that in the furnace, and then we go off and sort of explain how we want to, you know, fix up the land a little bit, because as you can see, there's spots where it's all jaggedish. We want our path to be a bit more coherent, and we want our roads to be, you know, really put into place. This also included this sort of little river shack sort of pathing that was along here. I wanted to clear up the waterway so that way we could boat backwards and forwards from our starter house back to the base. Now over here you can see we collect up our netherite ingots and we turn, the ancient debris sort of stuff, turn them into ingots, and then we go ahead and upgrade all of our nice armor to nice shiny purple. and then we follow up by doing our tools. Now, the sword was a standard, sort of had to do, but then I did a bit of a tossing up between which one should be my second one, and I ended up choosing the shovel, which to this day I still regret. I really should have done my axe. Now, after all my brand new gear upgraded, I show off on the map all the different pathing and the roads that I have laid out through that standard sort of coarse dirt and path blocks. No real detail added into it yet, but that is the plan now, to sort of go through and just sort of get all that underway. So cutscene later, and with the help of Dot, we are able to go through and show off how the paths are looking up, and they really do help map out where we are placing things, and it gives us that more sort of solid down grounding that this is going to be how it's going to look. Now, as you see, now we're going past where the stairs are. It's very primitive, we haven't added in any walls yet, but I just wanted to map out where everything was going to be, and yeah, it really sort of helps set up the marking. Now, at this point, we jumped on a live stream and had done a bit more sort of detailing into the road, actually adding in some waterlogged leaves, a bit of the brown carpet to cover up some lighting, and some torches. We also added in a bit more of that wall now. Now, that was actually done on the episode, talking it through with you guys, and yeah, I really did actually I do enjoy doing those sort of parts on the episodes. Now, we also did, I'm pretty sure on the live stream, our very first sort of custom tree down there, but it did look a little bit lonely, so we did manage to go over and incorporate a second custom tree just to sort of, tie in the pathing, as you can see back here, a little bit closer to the entrance of the village. Now, it was at this point in the episode where I had to come and just face the music. It had taken me a month to actually finish building up this road and decorating all of the outside of it with all the greenery, but as I spin around, it looks so good. I was really happy with how it turned up. There was a bit of a combination of a few live streams, just a few late nights, just placing down blocks, bone mealing some areas, cleaning it all up, but it all really paid off in the end, and I was so happy with how it turned up. It really helps capture the eye as you walk in. Now, one big rule of thumb that I always try and keep is, we don't have any dead spaces or anything like that, so I always try and place in the trees, break them up with a bit more of those different coloured leaves, like from the mangrove, the flowering azalea, birch and that sort of stuff, to give a bit more different shading and texturing. I also try and include where I can, like the campfires, as you can see just around here, the bamboo to sort of fill out that space a bit more, the red flowers to sort of just tie in a bit more of that villager vibe with it. And yeah, we even include some bees around the place too, so yeah, no, I was happy with it. I'm just upset it took me about a month to actually get this road built up. Episode 14 was all about Chris. We wanted to get up his church house built up, and we wanted it to look really, really cool. We jumped straight in from the get-go on this episode. We marked out our area, got our floors in, set up our wall height, and then yeah, it was a matter of putting in the walls, getting in the roof marked out of how we want it to look, and then bam, we had our almost finished product. Now, as you can see, we're walking around the house, it looks really, really cool in here. We try to get the pews going up and through. We can even go out to a nice little garden area where I've been growing up all of my nether wart. However, though, there was just one thing missing, which I had the itch to go on an adventure to find, and what I was wanting was some glowberries. Why glowberries, you may ask? Well, I thought they might look really cool just sort of hanging in the corners of the building. So I decided, what an excuse for an adventure. So I set out, found myself a village and stole all of its wheat, packed mud now. I'm going to need a bit more of that. Went off mining a little bit in a cave, found ourselves some diamonds, and yeah, we just really kept looking for this, hopefully, I was just sort of trying to find a luscious cave, just couldn't find it. So we did manage to find, though, a cut off, sort of rejected mob spawn sort of thing, there was no spawner cage there at all. We just got the chest, which I was able to get up an upgrade for Dot's armor. But again, we sort of just went through here. There wasn't anything really of much note except this creeper that scared me and made me run off and find an actual spider spawner. Other than that though, we had no luck on the glowberries, so it was a matter of just returning home. After I returned home and sort of set up things, I decided to just jump in and do a bit of a live stream where I did manage to find ourselves some glowberries in a minecart in an abandoned mine shaft. I couldn't even find a luscious cave. Still to this day, have not found it. But, let's see, was it worth it to actually go out looking for them? Yeah, I think it really was. It ties in nicely a bit of greenery in here, and something that I think we might need to be including in some of our future builds. But that was it for this episode. I did come to the conclusion of crap, I forgot to build a bed for Chris in here, and yeah, so I think we might need to address that next episode. And for episode 15, I did have the bright idea of where we could actually have Chris sleep. I thought down here we should build up a tavern where multiple villagers can actually live, because, we want this to be a thriving area. I also decided that this would be the episode where I took on 2 builds, and I wanted to build up a bit of an enchanting table set up over here in this village, so that, we could actually have that accessibility here. And this is the episode where I really sort of dove in and started making up a bit of the lore to go along with this village, and it was going to be the lore keepers of the world, and I thought an enchanting table setup would actually go pretty in hand with an area that's including all of the the lore and all that sort of stuff that's been going on in the world. And as you can see quite easily, it popped up very nice words, but it's one of the only houses that has a very little interior because it's got not much in it. I did, however, though, stuff up the roof, as you can see here, and yeah, it's 1 block too low, so I decided, I'll fix it up later. Let's just jump over and get straight into our tavern, which I did, marking it all out again, just previously like with Chris's place, and sort of found our areas, got in our floor, set up our height for how high we wanted this build to be, and then we just sort of started connecting in our walls. Added in a staircase because I wanted to have a second second level for this building, and then just like that, we had our walls all in place. We even have a little bit of a terrace walkout for the top layer there. I wanted to make sure that I showed this in the episode that, I didn't make that mistake twice. I got the roof right the second time. I even went out a little bit fancy and added out a little bit of a peak in there, which I actually kind of like. I think it came up really nicely. Now, if we cut on over, we've got the final finished product, which, again, adding in that bit of greenery really helps pop and just bring it in. I like the different levels that the build actually approaches on, just from the standard area of the village, and it's on the different levels, as well as the bees that we've got here that we can actually, use. I did try and put in a skylight, which I don't think it worked out, but, I'm not going to get rid of it because it's part of the world. It's part of what I was doing at the time. And then, yes, finally, I had to show off that I did fix up that roof of the enchanting build. I even included a little bit of a chair there because I took note that it is quite a small space, and if there's going to be a lot of people queuing up to use it, we might need to fix that and have a bit of a waiting area outside. But that did wrap up that episode pretty nicely for us. Well, episode 16, and I just couldn't help myself. Off camera, I built up a lovely nice little well, which you can see here behind me. I made sure that villagers cannot fall into it because it's just a little bit too short for them. I also built up this lovely little just placeholder house. It has no purpose, it's not like it's a tavern, it's not like it's Chris's place. It's just a house to have here, and it looks really, really cool. I also do up a bit of the sort of the greenery around it, and as you can see here, I disguise very cleverly a lightning rod in here, so that way in case we get any thunderstorms and that, hopefully our villagers will be saved. Now I've just cut over to the riverbank, which over on a live stream we actually fixed it up and really connected it all up, making it look really nice. Now, I did go through as well and actually include a bit of a stony wall face, which I was really happy with doing all the texturing, and yeah, it was just, it was a really nice stream, and it was really good to see. Yeah, there's the textured wall just there. So once everything was caught up and, we'd sort of shown off all the different areas of which I've been working on, it was time to get into today's episode, which was, building up the stone mason triplets area, which I thought would look really cool being underneath this cave. So it required us obviously clearing out our space, then going through, but doing a bit of texturing. Started to, put in our poles and pillars, making it really look like, the outline of what we wanted. Then we went through, added in a bit of texturing, getting those stone half slabs and stairs, as well as including a furnace and an underground storage area before we were up to the finished product. Now, I make it sound like that was, no time at all. That did take us quite a bit of time to actually get up to this stage here, where we have a lovely sort of crossbeam entrance into the Mason Triplets home and workstation. But we also included all of these ores around on the floor, up on the roof. We've got all the chests and storage. We've added in a bit of vines to get a real sort of nice sort of just overgrown-y sort of feel. We've got a minecart down there that leads us up and down from our storage system. And like, honestly guys, this is just a very eye candy sort of area in my world. I think it just looks very pleasing. And I was very happy to end off the episode with this lovely finished build. Episode 17 saw us face the music finally and actually have to go ahead and build our docks. Now, I'd been saying I was going to do this for a while and just kept putting it off because, well, it was a bit daunting. I needed quite a bit of, wood to be able to actually build up the basin of it and everything. So, and it was about time we actually started onto it. And, it wasn't that bad. We first jumped in, broke up all of the sugarcane that we had there, marked out with dirt where we wanted our dock to actually come up to, placed in our piers, so the wood thingies, yep, those ones, before going off and having a little, one-on-one play with Drowned. Surprisingly, I actually got the trident. But then when we made it back up on the shore, sort of showed off that, how I was going to layer it between the spruce planks and the spruce trap doors, and then explain that the grassy sort of shoreline would then become replaced with a bit of stone. Not too long though after, we were able to have our dock all fully laid out, as well as replace all of that grass with the stone sort of walking pathway, as well as include a bit of a quarantine area that was going to be nestled in underneath our walking space. As you can see here, the concept and idea is this is that any village that's sort of sent any goods throughout the river system and landed on our docks, we can put it in here and have a bit of a quarantine time before we actually let it off into the village, so that we can make sure there's no crops or anything that's going to affect any of our goods. I did also start building up the little road that branches between the docks and also the main entrance road up there, before cutting back into a nicely decorated dockland that sort of really showed off all of the sort of the goods here. We've got a few different sort of items on display, we've got some food there, we've even got a fish tank, which I was really happy with. Now, it wasn't just the docks that got all decorated up, we also did a bit in the quarantine side, but as you can see, it is a little bit on the scarce side of things because, well, we don't have many villages around the world at the moment that would be sending goods to the village here. So, I kind of just did a bit of a decorate up of it, just have it as a little bit bare. We also did do up the garden walking path up to where the entrance is, before I sort of made the decision that I was only going to be able to actually do one more build in this episode, and I decided to build up the fisherman hut house, which I was really happy with. It looks really cool. Got a few nice sort of shelving sections up in there. It's got a round pond around it, and then again, nothing really on the inside, but it's a really nice build, and it was a really good way to sort of wrap up this episode. For episode 18, we kicked off right where we left off last episode and decided to build up the entrance building, sort of guardhouse of our village. Now, this was a pretty sort of straightforward as all the other ones. We decided which area we wanted to build it in. We decided our block palette, using some blocks, bricks and granite sort of stuff there. And then, just built up our perimeter, got our walls into place, and then, another quick shot over, and here we are with the lovely, almost finished house. Wouldn't it be great though if we were able to have enough kelp to actually finish the dang roof? But we'll get there eventually. Once that was all finished up, it was time to start off on our quarantine sort of retrieval area when everything had passed through. And I wanted to build up here a bit of a lift system. And at the time, I was sort of struggling a bit with my words, so I decided I'll just, I'd go down underneath it, build up all of the sort of area there, clear out my space so I can put in my lift system, and then, had it all built up nicely around it. Now, after that sort of build up there, I thought what would make this look really cool is adding in a bit more storage, maybe even having in a sign in, sign out sort of space there where you can actually retrieve your goods so that we know who's actually laying claim to whose items and all that sort of stuff there. But before we could end off the episode, I did need to put in another tree and add in a bit more greenery. Now, it's just becoming a bit of a theme to sort of help take away from any dead space, but also just to really tie in the environment within the build to make it just look a little bit more pleasant on the eye. And I really think it pays off. And and this is how we ended episode 18. Episode 19 was when we finally gave our village its grand name of Ud Uk, which was kind of short for good book, just drop off the G and the B, because it's a law-keeping village. Very, very creative, I know, but at this point I had managed to acquire all of the kelp blocks I needed to finish off the roof over here, as well as 2 more builds in the village, which I go off and show through in this village in this episode as a bit of a village tour. Now, I don't really know how well to cover a village tour inside of this sort of recap of how I've survived my 1 year in this world, but I recommend going and checking it out. It was a pretty cool one. So just for this little snippet, here's my villagers in a pen. They look pissed, I know, and here's our map. And finally, we are here at episode 20, which brings us up to date and was our last episode of the year. It brought it pretty close onto it. Now, this episode here, we decided we were definitely going to be starting our grand library of Uruk, which would be holding all of the lore and everything in here. So we just jumped straight into it this episode. It was a really hot day, so a lot of my recording just started getting corrupted and everything, and it was a bit of a fight to get this episode out, but I pushed through it and I was really happy with how we got to it. So once we started off with our stairs there, we ended up coming up and doing a bit of a wall design around it before we come out and work out how to be able to extend on our pathing and work out the walling situation of how we want for this. I managed to map out the perimeter of how I wanted this build to sort of look. I had a bit of an outside walkway lift as well as the space for the inside of the building. It was, as you can see, very floating at the moment, but it was just so that we could have our idea and know our space work. It was still a pretty hot day, so I decided that for the rest of the afternoon I was just going to spend it connecting the top of the layer of this to the ground all around the walls, as well as go through adding in a bit of the jungle fences, trapdoors, upside down stairs, just to really sort of tie in with the pop and the build of this. After that was done, I set out where I wanted my perimeter walls for the actual building to go and work out how I was actually going to maneuver my floor in here, as I wanted to have a bit of like a 2 wide sort of walling so we could do a bit of depth in there. After this, I came back with a bit of a maze of the floor work, trying to show out the different layers and where the staircases will go up and down between the different floors, before being incredibly proud of myself and actually going in and making an anvil railing around the perimeter of our build. Now, it hasn't been shown in any episodes, and it's going to come at the end of this video of an honourable mentions of stuff that we've done off camera or on a live stream, but an iron farm is one of them where I achieved all of this iron. Once we come back through, I start up building the walls and actually, just sort of getting the height in there and then just going through with the texturing of the brickwork. After which we brought back in and I sort of showed off the idea that I had for the sort of interior roofing to sort of hide between the different levels, as well as sort of how I wanted the sort of rough layout to be within here. We didn't want to leave the video though empty-handed, so I decided to start work on actually building up a second level in the middle section. However though, I really liked how it looked and I decided to actually breach it over and put it onto the east wing as well, to sort of just show up a bit more of that build height. We ended off the episode, with me informing that I will have the basic sort of outlook of this finished for when we come back in 2023, and yeah, we said thank you and all that sort of stuff for all the support that's had out throughout the year. Now, let's head on over to those honourable mentions I was talking about. Alright, so now that we have finished up all the 20 episodes that we've got out on YouTube about our world and our adventures of surviving so far in this year, it's important to also show off some of the builds that we've done over on live streams. Now, the first one that I'll show off is one that we've already briefly stepped on, which is a bit of an iron farm. Now, it's not really that decorated or anything yet, but it just serves its purpose, and its purpose works beautifully for me. So I also on a live stream had worked on connecting Rabbitton and Uruk by building up a lovely bridge, which I really do like how it looks in its place. So I do need to do a bit of a decoration around the sort of basin of it a bit more, but I still think it's coming up really nicely. On that same stream though, I did also, decorate a bit of the road pathway leading back into our village, as well as befriending two villages of our own that we could actually cure and use to try and get a few emeralds. We also updated our bees because we managed to get enough honeycomb blocks and gold blocks to actually incorporate them into their hives, as well as building up a bit more of a house around our kelp farm. This also involved building up a, an automatic kelp farm sort of machine thing here to actually get enough of it. We also sort of branched ourselves over the way a little bit so that we could also grow our other trees like mangrove, jungle, dark oak and spruce. But yeah, we've also not only sort of worked above ground, but on a live stream we also went back and decorated the cave of our enchanted sort of setup, not enchanted setup, sorry, our zombie spawner, our lava farm and our chicken cookers. So yeah, we went through and really decorated this to make it look like a nice overgrown cave setup. We do have a bit of a walkway that allows us to lead back up and wrap up behind where the kelp farm is, as well as being able to see a bit off in the distance the iron farm. If we head on back down there though, it does lead us to where our nether portal is, as we've got our, companion Diego here, who was named on a live stream. And yeah, I've also built up the house around it, and it sort of looks really cool, just built into a bit of the hillside there. And I wouldn't mind actually sort of maybe incorporating another build along the mountain here, just to sort of really set it up as that area. We also needed more leather to be able to get the books to be able to trade with our villagers, so we set up a automatic cow cooker, which looks lovely from the outside but is quite bare on the inside to just really serve that purpose of getting us a bit of cooked beef and some leather. And finally, we have a new build which will be coming out onto YouTube. It's going to be part of the new little series of long play episodes that I'm going to be doing. And we built up Dot's stable, so his own house, so they could actually have a place here in Rabbitton while we actually lived around and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so it's a little sneak peek, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. So that's the story of how we actually spent our time here in this hardcore world over the last year. Now I know we played it quite safe. I haven't fought the dragon yet, that's still on the to-do list. However though, I really have enjoyed the world that I've built up here. I think it looks really nice. I've enjoyed my time. I've enjoyed, streaming and putting out videos and everything. And I hope you guys, you're enjoying seeing this world build up and feeling a part of it too. So yeah, I'd like to thank everyone who's tuned in and watched this video on how I've survived my first year in this hardcore world. And I look forward to the many more adventures and many more years to come in this world. Hopefully that's not going to be my famous last words. Alright guys, until next time, bye!